sure if you know again.
Do you have to pay?
It's $8. It's $8 extra. So every 2 years you have to,
Right.
and then when you do that, you get the plate.
They'll say, you need a new plate, here, we're charging you.
Right, so whenever your license plate is up
Right.
for registration, you re-register, and they send you a new plate. You pay an extra $8 on top of what you normally pay to re-register.
And these are flat. They're not raised.
They're not raised.
Okay, do we, as I can ask,
The flat one is kind of the trend that most things do.
We don't follow trends, we sell.
Right. Right.
That's probably cheaper to make too.
Why use it if I can't?
I'm sure like a machine has to like stamp them.
Well, 3M is making these, it's not a prison industry is making these.
okay.
I guess it's more reflective that way or something.
Front and center. Front and center for you.
We'll go there now.
Okay.
How you doing? Sleeping through the night yet, or?
Yes, sleep through the night, so I'm lucky.
Good.
Yes.
Hope is this willing? Well, good afternoon, everyone. Bud, you gonna sit up here with us? Sure. Yeah.
You're gonna be next to the plates.
Yes. Next to the plates, yes. Thanks. Well, thank you. We got Lieutenant Governor here at, one of our regular media availability. So, Lieutenant Governor, thank you for being here, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing. We have a number of things to cover today, and so I'll jump right in. One is that we're going to have a new Medicaid director, which is really important for us. I'm glad to announce that I've appointed Kristen Souza as Rhode Island's new Medicaid director. And Kristen has spent her career focused on Medicaid program development, policy, and contract management. Since December, she has been serving as the interim director. Before that, she served as the deputy Medicaid director. So I want to thank Kristen for stepping up as the interim director. As we all know, Medicaid's a big part of our state budget, and to have somebody as qualified as Kristen in that place is a very appropriate time frame, especially as we're working our way through many of the issues that are front and center in that area. So Kristen brings significant institutional knowledge, and we know she's prepared and qualified to lead. So we want to thank Kristen for that. In terms of a DHS transition support team, similar to what we did at the Department of Health, we have an update related to the Department of Human Services. Today I'm announcing that we are putting in place a strong team of leaders to support the transition at DHS while the search continues for a permanent director. You may have remembered that we organized a similar support team at the Department of Health, which has been very successful. And we'll be using the same model as at DHS and to ensure a strong transition, continue access to quality services that improve the lives of Rhode Islanders. I've been meeting for the last 9 weeks in this room with members of the union representation to talk about ways that we can make sure that we continue to service the people that need to be served out of DHS. And in particular, there's going to be a re-enrollment a recertification that's going to happen on all the SNAP programs. That'll be challenging, that will begin on June 30th. So we're preparing to make sure that we're ahead of the curve, making sure that that process goes smoothly. So the team includes Yvette Mendez, who has been acting director since February. Supporting acting director Mendez will be Liz Tanner from our director of Department of Business Regulation. Ernie Almonte, we're going to pull him in again in terms of the former chief of staff to the lieutenant governor, and he was on the Department of Health transition team, of course, former auditor general. Chris Abulon, pastor, my deputy chief of staff, who has also served on the Department of Health transition team. And Rosa Di Castello, my director of community affairs and outreach, who's had a great deal of experience in that area as well. And we'll have a representative from the state's IT department who will join the team in the coming days. We've met with a BJ from the IT department, and we know that it's such an important transition, and it's a lot has to do with the IT and the preparedness, on that recertification. So the team brings decades of experience in human services, government operations, and leadership, and I'm very confident in their collective ability to ensure DHS remains strong during this transition period. And we know that we've been challenged there before, and we want to make sure that we're not challenged there again. Hello, we got a visitor here. How you doing? I thank them all for stepping forward and accepting these roles during the transition. They, along with a dedicated team across DHS, will continue to ensure we're making progress and improving operations at this critical agency, and we'll continue to work with the staff to make sure that we deliver on the promises that we need to keep. And now one of the news is that today we have a license plate design contest winner. Bud was here to answer some questions on how that all went out, but I'll give you the overview. We joined today by DMV Administrator Bud Craddock to announce the winner of the Rhode Island's license plate design contest. Nearly 300,000 votes were cast throughout the process, and the winner is Willem Van Lanker, right? Willem, welcome, from South Kingstown. He's here today with his wife Betsy and their son Arsene. Did I pronounce that correctly? Arsene, wonderful. Willem's reimagined the wave plate and pays tribute to the state's iconic wave design with a twist in many ways. It's a symbol of Rhode Island's evolution over the years. I'd like to invite him up to receive a citation that I think I have around here somewhere, Jonathan. Yes, no? We'll get that to him if we don't have it. Oh, we do have it here. Alana, thank you. And Willem will be available to give a little answers to any questions you might have at some point in time today or in the future, right, Willem? Yes. And then it's Arsene. Arsene. Like our son? Arsene. It's French? Nice. Well, this is a special recognition, Willem, in gratitude of your artistry and dedication in submitting the winning design for Rhode Island's license plate contest. Your reimagined wave plate pays homage to the state's iconic design with the elevated twist that is symbolic of Rhode Island's evolution over the years. So we're, on behalf of the people of the state of Rhode Island, I just want to give you this certificate of recognition along with our Lieutenant Governor.
Congratulations.
And congratulations, and thank you for stepping up. It was a very successful program. Yeah, we can get over towards the plate. Is that okay?
Sure.
Bud, why don't you come on in? He'll remember what's going on in a few years, right? Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you. But just as you imagined it, right? Good participation, 300,000 strong of people who weighed in, and moving forward, we'll certainly start enacting that. And what's our timetable on that, Bud?
Well, our goal.
Come on up and just give the timetable.
Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor. First off, I'd like to congratulate Will. it's a great design, and I think everybody's going to be very, very happy with it. It was not an easy process. We had a lot of creativity with the submissions that we had. As you know, we had close to 940 submissions by 369 individuals. And it was a tough process for the team of the DMV to winnow it down to the 5 finalists. But I think the people of Rhode Island got it right. As the governor said, close to 300,000 people voted. This particular design received close to 52% of the vote. So it was an overwhelming support for our iconic wave plate, and it also shows that people will not have to change too much.
Thanks, Bud. Thank you for your leadership. So I would just finalize by just saying we really thank everybody who got involved in that program. It became a statewide effort, and I think that's what the people of the state of Rhode Island wanted to see. And now we have a new plate design that we're going to move forward on. Before we hear from Lieutenant Governor, I just want to again say thank you to Willem and your son and your wife for being here today and living in our state and really taking pride in the fact that we take pride in our state. So thank you so much. Lieutenant Governor?
Good afternoon. Congratulations again. I just want to give a brief update from my office, and then I'll turn it back to the governor for questions. First of all, I would like to welcome and introduce my new chief of staff, Yvonne Graff, who's here today with us. Yvonne comes from, have more than 20 years of public service leadership experience. She has experience working in education policy, community development, and land use, and public and environmental health and open government. She worked before as the senior deputy chief of staff for the Providence City Council, and also as a director of policy and planning for the Providence School District. I'm very happy to have her join the team and looking forward to the work we're going to do together. Second, I would like to just do a quick update, highlight on my visit to DC last week to the conference of the National Lieutenant Governors Association. Me, together with a few others of the Lieutenant Governor, we had a great opportunity to visit the VP, Kamala Harris. And we were also to hear about her priorities, and also had the opportunity to check in with the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. I was able to highlight to them both the great work that Rhode Island is doing to accelerate our infrastructure work, thanks to the funds that we're going to be receiving from the bipartisan infrastructure law. I highlighted to them, to the Vice President, how with over $100 million the state is going to receive for broadband is going to help us to make sure that our state close the equity gap and the digital equity gap by making sure that high-speed broadband is as accessible to everyone and to the low-income community, to the seniors, and also to the areas in our state that has been geographically limited in their access to broadband. I was also able to share with the Secretary of Transportation Buttigieg the impact that $576 million that we are receiving is having and helping accelerate our work, our projects. About 100 projects are being accelerated that translate to $2.2 billion. And this is going to be on an average of 4 years sooner in completion that we're going to have. I also took this chance to invite them to Rhode Island and tell them to come here and see the great things that are happening here in the Ocean State. Also, another thing that I was able to participate was I have to moderate a panel talking about the definition of homelessness, which is a topic that is very close to me. I have been doing a lot of work here in the state about that. The definition from HUD perspective, and was able to learn more about there is more room for what we can do with the current definition, but I'm also looking forward to having more conversations with the Secretary Fuchs of HUD to see how we can make changes and improve. Finally, I just want a couple reminders to everyone. We are in the tax filing season. April 18 is the deadline here. And of course, I want to make a pitch and remind all of you to consider to making a donation to the Rhode Island Military Relief Fund, which provides direct relief for the military families in need. This is an area that my office works closely with, and we just want to encourage you to consider making a contribution. It could be deducted automatically from your refund. Finally, just a reminder from to everyone that the Rhode Island Rebound Hospitality Grant, the deadline is today at 11:59, so you have until 11:59 today. If you have not submitted your application, please make sure you do it. This program provides direct payment for businesses and organizations that suffer a significant negative impact because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and I'm going to turn the mic back to the governor for questions. Thanks.
To Bud Craddock, or even the governor too, I'm curious what you thought of some of the two-part question, some of the criticism from graphic designers about the process that didn't involve paying professionals to do this. And I also wanted to ask, it's very similar to the current plate we have. It's obviously an explicit homage. Do you think that reflects it all on Rhode Islanders and what they care about?
Multi-part question, and number one, I don't think the criticism was well-founded. They could have opted in and submitted designs. We chose not to go through an RFP process to save the state money. We wanted to try to involve the average person in the state, our regular citizens, to be able to have the opportunity rather than just go to a design firm. As it turned out, we have a gentleman who actually has a design background who submitted the winning design. So I think it worked.
And the plate, very similar to the wave, do you think that's...
Again, a lot of the feedback that I received by email or telephone calls over the last couple of weeks, people loved the wave. They didn't want to see it go. But again, the reason for a plate reissuance is to have something different so that it's readily identifiable as a new plate, so that we're able to get unregistered vehicles off the road and make sure we have our roadways safe for our constituents.
Mr. Van Lanker, if you would, tell us about yourself. How did you come up with the winning design? And Mr. Craddock says you have a design background. Tell us about that as well.
Sure. Just to comment, we will do some follow-ups with Willem afterwards in the sidebar, but go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll start with
So I'm Willem, excited to be here today. Was thrilled with the reception of 300,000 people, voting in this. It's really, yeah, it's staggering or surprising. On this design, as said earlier, I think that we all love the wave plate, and I think there's, a lot of brand equity in the wave around Rhode Island. It's on our highway signs, it's on the side of the DMV building, it's on our RIPTA buses, and so, how can, that become like a billboard that, carries around Rhode Island as cars, go around the U.S. As for myself, I studied graphic design at RISD. Today, I work in technology and software, and so I still have elements of design in my work, but, mostly in tech today.
What does having the winning design mean to you?
Really, it means a lot. I was born here. Grew up here. Went to school here. Lived all over Rhode Island. I find that the state's given me a ton, and so it's cool to be able to give something back, even if it's in a symbolic way.
Governor, non-license plate question. Governor, earlier you said you were looking at potentially either a tax rebate, a gas tax holiday, or some other mechanism to give money back to the people in this time of inflation and high gas prices. What have you concluded, and are you going to do any of those things, or anything to
Yeah, so
do
we're,
that?
I'm sorry, we're still open to the concept. Like I mentioned before, where there's 3 states that have got involved in it, and the the savings that is going to be passed on is very marginal in each one of those states. So I think that we're talking to the General Assembly. Of course, we're open to them. If they decide to move on something, we'll certainly support it. And I think we're looking at the projections of the revenue projections for May to determine whether there's more flexibility and moving ahead right now. And that's, and other than that, I'd be asking the General Assembly and see what they're thinking about this thing in leadership.
Governor, you mentioned the transition team at DHS. Where do things stand with a new health director? You have a number of openings. Do you expect to fill any of them? Or, I mean, it's a tough political climate with the primaries coming up later this year. And are you having a hard time filling some of these positions? Or where does that stand, especially the health director's position?
Well, the main thing that we want is make sure that the departments are running smoothly, and right now DHS is running smoothly, and we thank Dr. McDonald for stepping up. We'll start the process for a permanent, replacement there and during the summer months, and we'll reactivate the team that has been put in place, and we'll add to that team. So, yeah, so we're happy where we are right now. The transition team that's working there on an unveils, as well as Ernie Almonte and Pastor Chris, along with the team that's there, a great deal of progress is being made, and we're going to continue to work on it.
Obviously, when Dr. Nicole Alexander Scott left and there was that consulting contract, part that came under criticism for how much she was getting, part of that contract was to work during the transition for March, April, and May. We're now into April, and there isn't a permanent director. Do you still feel like you're getting your money's worth out of that?
Yes, we've been in contact with Dr. Alexander Scott. We've tasked her with looking at how we can get grants and support grant strategies in the in that department, including we're finishing off the grant for the health lab right now, which is $80-some-odd million. And so yeah, so finishing up in those areas is going to be very beneficial to the people of the state of Rhode Island. I would expect that in grants and other value to the state that will far exceed what currently Dr. Alexander Scott is getting paid.
How are we doing with the new superintendent for the state police? Are you have candidates? Are you meeting with anybody?
Yeah, so we're on a time frame. We're expecting that that we'll meet that. I've had 4 different interviews with people from Rhode Island, and out of that, I know that we'll have a good candidate, and we'll be working with Colonel Manny in terms of the transition, which I believe ends at the end of this month. So we'll work on that. But interviews are going on.
Governor,
4 people from the state of Rhode Island.
Governor,
with
as you
law
know,
enforcement
the
experience.
Attorney General has appealed the Superior Court decision on Mario's Law to the Supreme Court. Is that a decision that you're good with?
Yeah, so we realize that the Attorney General has elevated it to the Supreme Court. There's certain things that the governor has authority over and certain things that he don't. So the parole board is the individuals that certainly have that authority. I've never directed the parole board to release any or continue to incarcerate anyone. So I think
Though, is that it's not the parole board, it's the Department of Corrections, and they do answer to you directly. So I just wanted to know if, would you?
yeah. So it's a parole board decision.
Parole board said it wasn't
the
their
research.
decision. This is in the court documents.
Well, that's my understanding is that it is a parole board decision, and that if the General Assembly introduces something, we'll take a look at it. But right now, I think the Attorney General is going to get an answer that he's looking for, and we'll see how that works out. Yeah.
Governor, this could be for you, but you can also step in here. Is there any progress on the bill that would give undocumented immigrants licenses? And what are the talks with that in the General Assembly?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly where it is right now. We're on record over the number of years that I believe that that I think it's a good idea. I think it's an economic issue. We know that people are looking for workers, and this is going to help accelerate that. And we know that people who are working are paying taxes in the state. So I've been supportive of that. I'm waiting to see what the final, if there is a bill that's passed, what it actually looks like. We're not sure exactly what we're going to see, but in principle, I've supported that idea, and I'm prepared to sign that legislation if it comes to my desk in a way that makes sense to the to the state of Rhode Island.
And Mr. Craddock, are you in talks with the General Assembly about this bill, obviously?
We've had some conversations, expressed some concerns on the best way to implement it from an operational standpoint. One of their concerns was to make sure that we did not negatively impact any of the Real ID credentials that we've issued. Real ID law does allow credentials for undocumented individuals, so we're making sure that when things get passed through the legislature, we work with them so that we've protected the individuals that already have Real IDs, and we don't endanger our certification through Department of Homeland Security.
Is that it for questions?
Just one more, Governor. There's a couple of ongoing investigations into your administration right now, including one, as I understand, involving Mr. Craddock. What's your message to the people of Rhode Island who are seeing this news come out, particularly the FBI's or the federal officials' involvement in the ILO investigation? What do you think?
Yeah, so I know that it certainly is a topic that is of discussion, and my message to the people of the state of Rhode Island is to remind them that it was a state of emergency, that when I came in, and I think we have to keep on reminding people who are reporting on this that we had the lowest vaccination rate, we had the highest death rates, the highest infection rates. It was a state of emergency. It was a true state of emergency. So, and I always did what was in the best interest for the people in the state of Rhode Island, and I never overreached the authority that I had as a governor. But I would also say that when the dust settles, a question for you, when the dust settles and you come up empty, who's going to have the courage to write that story?
Thank you all
Governor,
so
that's
much.
the FBI that's looking. It's not just, media reports.
I'll repeat. When you come up empty, who's going to have the courage to write that story?